Okay, let's dive right in. I want you to think about something. When was the last time you used GPS to get somewhere you've been to like a dozen times? Or how about when your email pops up with the perfect reply before you've even typed a single word? It's amazing, right? We're literally surrounded by these incredible tools that make our lives so much easier. But, and this is the big question, what if all that ease, all that convenience, actually comes with a hidden price? And that brings us right to the heart of it. Are we, you and I, outsourcing our thinking to our devices? Look, this isn't about saying tech is good or bad. That's not the point. The real question is, what actually happens when we start letting our gadgets do the heavy lifting, cognitively speaking, just because it's, well, convenient? So this leads us to what our source material calls the smart interface trap. And you know exactly what this is. It's when Netflix just automatically plays the next episode, you don't even have to move. Or when your phone suggests that perfect one-tap reply to a text. I mean, these things are designed to be totally seamless, right? But you gotta wonder, could all this convenience actually be a bit of a double-edged sword? This quote really nails the concern. It says, "We're investigating if our reliance on smart interfaces is subtly eroding our cognitive faculties." And that word subtly is everything. It's not some big dramatic change. It's more like a muscle you just stop using, you know? It doesn't vanish overnight, but slowly, gradually, it gets weaker. So the question is, are we letting our own mental muscles kind of waste away because we're always leaning on our smart devices? Now, before we go any further down this rabbit hole, it's really important to understand something. To see the potential problem, we first have to appreciate why these tools are so good in the first place. This isn't an accident. They are designed intentionally to create a frictionless world. Yeah, the whole philosophy here is to remove obstacles, right? To reduce your mental load, to crank up the speed and efficiency, and ultimately to make the technology feel totally invisible. The goal is to let you act without having to think too hard. But here's the twist. What if that thinking part is actually, good for us? What if a little bit of that friction is exactly what our brains need? Okay, so let's get into the hidden cognitive cost. This is the central argument, really. How can this incredibly helpful, well-intentioned design have this unintended side effect? This is where the very help we get from our devices might actually start to become a hindrance. And that brings us to a really important term for this whole discussion, cognitive outsourcing. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's the act of offloading mental tasks and, nuanced decision-making to our tech tools. Think of it like this. A company might outsource its manufacturing, right? Well, in a way, we're outsourcing bits of our thinking to our phones, our GPS, our software, you name it. And this is a really, really key point. We're not just outsourcing simple stuff like remembering a phone number. That's one thing. We are outsourcing the very decision-making that used to happen inside our own brains. We're talking about bigger things like figuring out the best route to take or even what to say in an important email. And here's how that erosion process can happen. It's a pretty simple cycle, really. Step 1, you've got a task that requires some thought. Step 2, a smart tool comes along and just handles it for you. Step 3, naturally, we begin to rely on that tool. And then, step 4, our own mental skill for that specific task starts to get a little weaker. It's a slow fade. Okay, so let's be super clear. This is not about saying we should all throw our phones in a river. Not at all. This is about convenience versus engagement. It's about shining a light on a fundamental trade-off that every single one of us is making, probably without even realizing it, every single day. And this table lays it out so clearly. Look at the seamless trade-off. On one side, what do we gain? Effortless action, speed, efficiency, a reduced mental load. I mean, who doesn't want that? But then look at the other side. What do we risk? Well, critical thinking skills, intellectual engagement, and even just the practice of solving problems for ourselves. For every gain, there's a potential loss. And that really is the central paradox here, isn't it? These seemingly helpful design choices might be kind of accidentally diminishing our critical thinking. The better the design is at making things easy, the less we're actually required to think for ourselves. The help is so good, it might just be making us a little less capable in the long run. So what's the answer here? How do we reclaim our thinking? Again, it's not about getting rid of our amazing devices. No way. It's about something else. It's about the power of conscious awareness. It's about changing our relationship with them. So here's your takeaway from all this. First, just recognize the trade-off in your own daily life. Be mindful of which tasks you're outsourcing. And you know what? Every once in a while, choose genuine engagement over pure convenience. Do it the hard way. The whole point is to make that implicit cost of convenience explicit, to see it for what it is. The real power comes from shifting from being a passive user to a conscious one. Ultimately, what this all boils down to is this one idea. The goal is to examine the trade-off between convenience and genuine intellectual engagement. It's not about finding some perfect one-size-fits-all answer. It's simply about being aware that this trade-off even exists. Because once you see it, once you're aware of it, then you can start making more informed choices for yourself. And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. A question to just kind of carry with you as you go about your day, using all these incredible helpful tools. Just ask yourself this. Which decisions are you truly willing to outsource? What parts of your own thinking are you okay with giving away? And which parts are just too valuable to let go?